Welcome, Ms Legalista here, aka Attorney Sheila. Going to be looking at interviews, witness statements, information, documents that have been included in this package that went from Shanquella Robinson's family attorney, who is Ben Crump, to the President of the United States.
Yeah.
If you saw my first video on this, which actually covered the letter, then you're a little bit up to speed. This is sort of part two of this series where we're breaking down what was in this letter that was sent from Ben Crump, who is acting as one of the family's attorneys in this matter. This letter went from him as representative of the family and Sue Ann Robinson, who is another attorney, to POTUS asking for swift intervention on the part of the US government. But one of the things that was included in this package of information that went to the president was witness statements that had been made by hotel personnel where Shanquella Robinson and her travel mates slash friends were staying. I want to jump into that so we can see exactly what these witnesses had to say about what happened. And again, this is taken from the set of documents that were included and sent to President Biden. Go back and take a look at my first video if you want to see the letter. But in this one, we are going to jump in to the witness statements here. And as you can see, Baja California Sur State Attorney General's Office interview report. And this is a witness. It says here legal basis, Article 21, Paragraph 1 of the Political Constitution of the United Mexican States, Article 132, Section 10 of the National Code of Criminal Procedure. And this is a witness statement. Homicides unit tells you where the place of interview is taking place. 39-year-old male manager. And then here is the interview transcript. I am the administrator of the Villa Casa Linda number 2, and then we have the place where it's located, where I have worked for more than a year and a half. Once I observed on my cell phone the videos circulating in social networks where two of the guests who had registered in the villa appeared, where one of them dressed in pajamas with shorts and blouse, possibly colors pink, white with black, and a light colored cap, appears hitting another female person who is naked. The one who is hitting the other person is the person named Dejanay Jackson, whom I identified because I served as a translator on the day of the events when the authorities were in the village conducting the proceedings. In the video, it can be seen that the headboard is illuminated by the sun's rays, and due to the location of the sun's rays, I can deduce that it is between 7 and 8:30 a.m. Since the bedrooms 1 and 3 are waterfront, and it is easy to deduce the morning schedule since the sun rises on the seaside, illuminating those rooms. That is the room number 3 because that is the only one that has a hammock outside of it, and the hammock can be seen in the video. Let me stop there. This is probably where we get a really good indication from an employee who is familiar with the villa, with the sunrise, with the setup, the location of the hammock, the location of different windows. And we now have a really good idea about what time the actual fight was taking place. And so this employee says it's between 7 and approximately 8:30 in the morning based on his experience having worked there. And I would say that he probably has a good experience. He says he's been there 1.5 years, I think. Also, after 10 a.m., the sun's rays begin to reflect towards the floor of the bedroom. Since there are some pergolas on the outside of the room, I can also say that in that villa, both at sunrise and sunset are very annoying. For that reason, the owner decided to place wood on the windows to prevent the sun's rays from entering. I know this because I am the administrator of the villa, and on many occasions I have been in the rooms at that time of morning. Finally, I wish to state that the villa was reserved from October 28th to October 31st, 2022. That is all I wish to state. And so that is the first interview transcript. And this is primarily someone who works there, who is who is sharing information based on the experience of having been in those rooms and knowing the environment and setup of those rooms. So that's a pretty good indication that, this is somebody who, if this person has to testify, this is probably what they're going to testify to. But let's look at this second letter, because I think it's the second letter that gives us a little bit more information about the interaction between this particular witness, who is an employee, and the actual people who were traveling there. So this is our second interview report, again, Baja California State Attorney General's Office, the same National Code of Criminal Procedure there, also a witness. It says this person is a customer service concierge, has a bachelor's. All right, let's look at this interview transcript. This is my statement given to investigation agent so and so in reference to the facts that are being investigated today, after informing me the reason for my presence and the interview. I have been employed by or Cabo Villas in the United States, where I work as concierge in attention and customer service. I provide service assistance with doubts, any service that is needed, for approximately 3.5 years. On October 28, 2022, I had been informed of the arrival of some guests to the Villa Casalinda 32, which is located in Padre Quino, Puerto Fundadores. Yes, okay. The day before, I was sent the work schedule of the villas that we are to take care of as concierge. So I knew that the guests of the Casa Linda villa would arrive around 3 p.m. on October 28, 2022. The main client was Dejanay Jackson, who contacted me around noon by text message to report that her flight had been delayed due to weather and that she would be telling me her new arrival time, confirming me that it would be at 17:19 p.m., which is about 2 hours later than what was expected. Then she asked me if, after arriving and taking the transportation, she could stop to do some shopping, to which I responded, "There is no problem." Then she told me that she would be letting me know the time they were going to arrive. She texted me when they left the shopping center. She arrived at the Casa Linda Villa around 2000 hours. I had arrived at the villa about 15 minutes before, and upon entering, I see a person of slim build, Afro American, about 1.75 meters tall, about 25 to 30 years old, to whom I introduced myself since he asked me who I was. I told him that I am his concierge and that I will be supporting his vacation and everything he needs. Also at the villa were chef and waiter, who are employees of the company and coworkers. Moments before, when I saw the guest, I was surprised since I wasn't aware that there were guests already at the villa, to which the chef told me that two people, a couple, had arrived at the villa a few hours before. However, I only saw the male guest described above. I prepared my registration sheets, and there is a registration sheet that is included with this package of information that went to the president. I prepared my registration sheets, the information I have to provide to the client: guacamole, tortilla chips, margaritas, and I waited for the main client, who arrived almost immediately in Trascabo's transport. They got off with their groceries, bottles of alcohol and tequila, and put down their suitcases, start taking pictures of the villa. They looked excited. In total, 5 people arrived: 3 women, 2 of them African American, and one between African American and mixed Latino. Of them, the main one named Dejanay Jackson, who is of sturdy build, tall, dark skin, with a thick voice. She was accompanied by 2 male guests of African American descent, both of slim build. One of them had dreadlocks. I introduced myself to the main guest, Miss Jackson, as her concierge and welcomed her. I asked her if she would like to see the villa and show her to her rooms, along with some of her guests or friends who decide who would stay in the rooms. We returned to the dining room to sign the documents, which consist of guest registration, insurance included in the villa, and residential complex rules, and provide a copy of each one of them, registering the following. And then you see that there are the names of all 7 there. The main guest stayed in the master bedroom, which is located at the end of the living room. There are 2 rooms, and at the end of the kitchen is a TV or entertainment room, then an access with an open area which connects 3 more rooms. The first room on the left is waterfront, and the other room on the right is also waterfront. And the third room, which is a double, not waterfront, being this at the end of the garage. I went to the room of the main client, Mrs. Jackson, to mention to her that dinner was ready since 20 hours and that if it needed to be extended, they would be charged an extra hour, which she did not agree to, and sent everyone to dinner since everyone was settling in her room. Minutes later, they all sit at the table and begin to drink a lot. That is when I meet Miss Shanquella, who was the last one to approach the table to celebrate, noticing in her a strange something attitude. She seemed not to fit in with the others. When I introduced myself, she did not greet me or smile. She was indifferent, nothing to do with the atmosphere of celebration. She was out of place at that party. I made sure that they were seated, having dinner, sharing, and celebrating, and that they had the information for the internet, the audio, the operation of the house. Once everything was ready, I left. All the clients, chef with phone number and waiter with phone number, stayed in the place. The next day at 13:50 or 13:52 hours, I received a text message from the main guest, Miss Jackson, asking me if I'm available and which was the nearest medical service. I greeted her and asked her how I could support her and if she was looking for a hospital. She said, "Yes, I think my friend has alcohol poisoning and needs emergency service and someone to speak or translate in Spanish for us." I offered to send her a doctor so he could determine if it was necessary to go to the hospital, and I told her that doctors speak English, and she answers, "Yes, please." I'll tell her that it costs $100 for the visit plus the medicine. I ask her if she agrees, and she answers yes as soon as possible. I tell her that I will make the call to request the service, to which she answers yes, please. Around 2 p.m. on October 29th, 2022, I called Dr. So and so, who is our contact for medical attention of the guest and whose phone number is. And in about 4 minutes, Ms. Jackson texted me asking me what I had been told. And I answer her that a doctor is going to contact her to check her friend. And she replies, okay. So this is the first time we really hear this sort of breakdown from someone who was somewhat on site and involved. Everything from what was in the conversations to the actual, okay, here's what was said and done, here's the doctor's information, that sort of thing. And of course, my phone is just going off and off. Attached to this document is a screenshot of the conversation. Now, this was not included. Attached to this document is a screenshot of the conversation with Ms. Jackson and where she asks me for medical help. And the conversation is recorded on 3 letter-sized sheets of paper attached here too. At 16:25, someone texted me and told me that the girl has to be hospitalized because after being evaluated, she has to be hospitalized, and that her friends were finding out if they had insurance. To which I asked if she is in serious condition and the doctor said no. So I'm wondering who um, this conversation is with. So did the doctor say no to him or just say no to that person? That is what it sounds like. But that she does need an IV, that she is practically unconscious, and that is why she has to be hospitalized. So this is not very clear here. Let me stop because this just this sounds a little confusing to me, that supposedly the doctor is saying, no, this is not serious, but she needs an IV, but it's not serious. But she's practically unconscious, but it's not serious. I don't know that anyone would say it's not serious if there's an IV needed and this person is practically unconscious. This seems like it would be concerning, but then again, there may be hierarchies for them. You know, you sometimes hear, oh, a person is in serious condition, a person is in critical condition. Well, from a physician standpoint, there may be certain criteria that has to be met in order to say someone is in serious condition versus someone is in critical condition, versus them having either one of those being met. And it could be that the doctor at this point didn't think it was a serious condition. It just sounds a little strange to me if the person is saying that she's practically unconscious. This is what is being stated in this document. So I'm a little confused here with that. All right. Later, the administrator with telephone number called me to ask if I requested an ambulance for the villa. I told him no. He tells me that security of Puerto Los Cabos is asking him about the request and access of an ambulance to Casa Linda number 32. Later, so and so called me to tell me that the guest had died and asks me to go there as soon as possible and that he is already on his way to help in whatever way he can. I went to Puerto Los Cabos from Cabo San Lucas after having spoken with someone. Upon arriving at the villa, I find a couple of municipal police officers talking to someone in the parking area of the house, and one of the guests, who was of African American descent, regular build, short hair, was coming and going from the house and calling by cell phone a relative or friend in the United States using so and so as a translator. I also saw the main client, Ms. Jackson, making contact with the male guest and on several occasions entering and leaving the house. During this time, I am waiting for so and so to tell me what to do since he is my concierge team leader. So I enter the house where I initially observe the guests, relaxed, calm, sitting in the living room area near the bar and dinner table. Now, at this point, you know, when somebody else is describing someone else's demeanor, it can be easy to jump to conclusions about how someone should be responding. People respond in different ways. Sometimes there's shock, sometimes there's sadness, grief, crying. It ranges the emotional spectrum, but I can imagine a lot of people are looking at this particular response and wondering how they can sit there calmly after what they saw, that we now know because we've seen the video. And I can certainly understand those questions being asked. My purpose was to look for the main guest, Ms. Jackson, and give her my condolences. When I talked to her, I gave my condolences. She thanked me and told me that they had talked to her friend's mother and mentioned that this was so fast to lose her in an instant for having had too much alcohol. I asked her if I could give her a hug, to which she said yes. And she gave me a very indifferent hug, very cold. I mean, again, to him, it may have felt very indifferent, very cold. And we could try to read a lot into that. Some people just give hugs like that. Somebody you don't know. I don't know whether or not you're going to hug someone you don't know. In a very warm kind of way. But I can imagine sometimes people who are in a state of grief probably do give a very embraceful type of hug. But again, I don't want to sit here and judge. People do things in different ways. That's not necessarily an indication of someone's guilt or innocence, but I can imagine that in a courtroom setting, all of this would be brought up and would be framed as however it's going to be framed. Let's put it that way. All of this information provides something that someone who's prosecuting the case can sort of say, well, look, they didn't even look upset, or look, she was so cold that she couldn't even give a hug after what she had done. So there's a way that a prosecutor can take this information and use it to, I guess, build a case around what happened. Now, you have to have way more than this, but what I'm saying is this is just information that a person may use. I saw a very sad guest, a skinny girl, and I saw that she was in pain. This is a person, let me talk about this person here, because what it sounds to me like is this concierge is used to being a concierge. I think he said he had been a concierge for 3.5 years. Sounds like he's probably good at doing his job, being attentive to details, providing assistance when needed. Part of being able to provide assistance is to sort of anticipate and understand what your guests are going through. If your guests are having challenging problems, then they're going to be upset. And so you find ways to sort of help them through that. But part of it is you have to pay attention to how people are acting, not just what people are saying, but what they're actually doing, their behaviors. This is exactly what you're seeing in this witness statement. Remember, he talked about coming in, seeing them sitting relaxed and calm. Again, he is assessing their behaviors because as a concierge, he's used to doing that. And can you imagine a prosecutor talking about this way and saying, this is what this person saw, or having the witness on the stand making these sorts of statements about what he saw? Not necessarily what he heard, because that might be considered hearsay, but at least sort of understanding and setting the stage for what was going on in this room after this incident had happened. You see people coming and going. Like I said, he talks about the people sitting on the sofa. He talks about this hug that feels cold, but he's also noticing that here is this other woman who seems to be maybe grieving and in pain. Notice the words that he's using here: in pain. Again, not everybody wants to sit and cry first thing, and we don't know, the person may have cried in the restroom or in the bathroom before coming out. There's no way to know that, and you may pull yourself together so that you can be able to answer questions that the municipal police may have for you. But this concierge is letting us know in his witness statement that he pays attention. And that is exactly what he was doing in this case. So let me go back and finish up his statement. I think we're just about to the end. So again, he talks about this sad guest, a skinny girl, he says, that he saw that she was in pain. He says, I left that area and stayed outside the main entrance to give them space to mourn and grieve. Again, a concierge who appears to know what his job is and appears to do it very well. Minutes later, I heard laughter. Again, he's noting the behaviors that he's. Well, I don't know what happened, but my audio just went crazy for the rest of my recording. So I had to re record this whole piece back over again. I'm not sure what was going on, but I hope it's working fine now. I'm going to try this again. There was just a lot of, well, you heard part of it. We're going to try this again and see how it works. That was just awful. I don't even know what to say. Let me flip back over here so we can move forward with where we were. All right, so we talked about being in pain, talked about the laughter. I approached so and so who told me to leave, to go back to my villas in Cabo San Lucas, that he will be in charge of following up and supporting the clients and the authorities. I said goodbye to the clients and left for Cabo San Lucas. Around 21:30 hours, the main guest contacted me to request transportation to go to dinner because they had not eaten anything all day due to the situation. So I called so and so with phone number who owns Lands End Transfer, requesting transportation for the clients of Villa Linda 32 to San Jose to go to dinner because they had not eaten anything. The driver advised of his departure from Villa Linda 32 to San Jose del Cabo to find a restaurant for dinner. At the end of the service, the driver reported via audio message on the WhatsApp chat of the Lands End Transfer group that the service had ended and that he left the guests at the airport hotel. The next day, so and so called me to tell me that the maid was reporting that there was no one in the villa, that if I had been notified that they were leaving, to which I replied no, that the day before they had only requested transportation to the center. So later around 11 in the morning, I sent a message to Miss Jackson to offer my support, asking if everything is okay, if there was anything I could do for it. Without getting a response until the next day, Monday, October 31st, 2022, when she texted me asking if she had to do anything else for checkout. If she had to sign anything, I could email it to her as they had already left. Later, she asked me for the property manager's number, so minutes later, I sent it to her. Days later, I found out that there was a lot of controversy because of the news and the video of the main guest, Miss Dejanay Jackson, hitting her friend Shanquella, the guest who died. When I saw the video on social media, I realized that practically the main guest, Miss Jackson, had manipulated me with the information she provided of what happened to leave the country as soon as possible. It should be noted that she put the name of Nazir Wiggins as the last person on the guest list or registry. So that is the end of that statement. And hopefully, I won't have any problems with audio. So that sort of wraps that up. I think the key piece here is with this second witness who actually engaged in conversations with Miss Jackson and then also was able to report on what he saw. I think this is really important. So I hope this brings you up to speed with these witness statements from the employees who actually worked at the villa and saw what was going on, especially person number 2. So don't forget to subscribe so that you can stay up to speed as more information becomes available on this tragic incident and what her family's going through. And peace. Mwah. I'm sort of like rushing now because I got something else to do and my audio messed up and I just need to be done. I need to see if this actually worked. All right, that's it.